Jay Harwood, special edition of Amazing Conversations with Ron Wright, father of David. Keith Miller, close friend of David. David Mosey, when did you become David's agent?
Right out of high school. Right when he was drafted out of high school.
Was it 02?
Well, what was it, Ron? What year was it?
It was 01.
01.
And I remember meeting Keith when he showed up at a high school baseball game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 01.
Do you guys, this is cool. It never happens. If Mike Hampton doesn't like the school system in Colorado, it signs with the Rockies and stays with the Mets, we probably don't get David Wright as a complimentary pick around. Do you know that, guys?
Yeah. I never thought of it like that, but that's a great point.
If he doesn't, so Rhon, you've always been David's father, right? It's a given. But Keith, you went from player to agent. How many clients do you have? Do you think your Aces? How many you guys have?
That Aces has?
Yeah,
we have about 100 total.
Was it fair to say David's one of your closest friends?
Absolutely, yes.
Tell me first, how did that transition start?
You know what? I think it was one of those. I mean, the transition of what exactly?
Becoming a friend. Most agents aren't.
Yeah,
You officiated David's wedding, Keith. I was there.
I did.
Hell of a job, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And I told him that's the worst thing that he's ever done to me in his life. I said it's so much pressure. And after his brothers have asked him to officiate their weddings, he finally understands that it's not that fun. There's too much pressure. But getting back to your original question, I think it all started. David and I, besides the age gap, we're very similar people. We think alike. I think I sense what he wants and what he didn't want from certain things and certain people. And I think we had just a lot of similarities and a lot of beliefs that matched up pretty good. And plus we're both very, very competitive.
Yeah. Let me question for both of you guys. What's your feeling going to be July 19th, Saturday against the Reds? David Wright becomes the second player in Mets history to have his number retired and be elected into the Mets Hall of Fame. The other player was the franchise Tom Seaver. Ron, let me start with first. His dad. What do you think you're going to be feeling that day?
Well, I'll be feeling just thrills. David and I both have been Mets fans. Most of our lives, all our lives. In fact, we had the Mets AAA affiliate here in Norfolk, the Tides. And so it was a dream come true when he got drafted by the Mets. And to see it come full circle now and have his number retired and put in the Mets Hall of Fame is just, it's a thrill beyond words.
How about you, Millsy?
Yeah, I think, the one word that comes to mind for me is just proud. There's a lot over his career that I've been extremely proud of. Number one, just being associated with him and being able to call him a client and call him a friend. But, there's a few times where he's called me where I've just literally gotten goosebumps. And, this is one of them. When they named him captain, that was another one. When he got called up to the big leagues, another one. But yeah, this is really, really special. And I think it sums up, who he is and what he meant to the Mets and to the city of New York. And you can't get a bigger honor.
Well, let me say again a question for both of you guys. I worked with David 14 years, and he always had the knack of doing the right thing. Whether a policeman was killed, a fireman was injured, Katrina or Sandy. Rhon, what in your? I mean, you're a police officer. You're a police officer. How do you think he picked up? I always tell people, as great a player as he was, 7-time All-Star, all the awards, he was 100 times better person. What did you see early on that he would have those traits for always, doing the right thing?
He did, Jay. Early on in school, he would insist upon carrying snacks and treats for the kids. He made sure that, that when the opportunity presented itself, he could, carry cupcakes, for example, or things for Valentine's Day or Halloween or the various occasions at school. I think it was as much nature as it is nurture, but his mother deserves a lot of credit for that because I think she's instilled in him that it was important to to be humble and be modest, and to, to the extent you can, help out others. And, like he said, I couldn't be prouder either of the job he's done as he turned into, I thought, a fine young man, and now he's a terrific father and Little League baseball coach. So
Yeah. How about
he's done
you,
a great
Keith?
job.
Yeah, you know what? I think Rhon nailed it. I mean, it starts right there. You're looking at the head of that house, and that's one of the biggest reasons, because of his father and his mother, is the way he is. He's pathetically flawless. He's just one of those guys. I called one of our buddies who were in fantasy football after he officiated his brother Matt's wedding, about a month ago. And I go, this is ridiculous. This guy, everything he does is good. And it's just it. But it started right there at home. He just had a great family. His parents were and are, two of the best people you'll ever meet. And I think that's why David is pretty good himself.
So July 19th is right around the Hall of Fame inductions. Do you guys reflect it all, starting in 14, the neck, the back, the spinal cirrhosis comes up? Do you ever think what could have been, what might have been, in all, or is that with the three kids, David, he's moved on, I think, but do you gentlemen ever think what might have been if the injuries didn't happen?
Go ahead, Rhon.
I don't think so, because I was with him a lot when he was in the aftermath of the various surgeries and when he was going through the therapy. And he worked his butt off. I mean, he really did. And, he truly left everything out on the field, because he did everything he could to come back. And, I think, if he were here, if you were to ask him, he would feel satisfied with how everything went. Of course, he's disappointed that injuries perhaps shortened his career, but he literally did everything he could to get back on the field to play.
How about you, Keith?
Yeah, I feel similar. I know that he has no regrets. I don't think he looks back at all. I think he's very, very satisfied with the way his career went. The way it went. Now, me personally, I feel a little bit differently, because I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that, but for the injuries, and there's a lot of guys that can say that, I'm sure, in a lot of different sports, but I really do believe in my heart of hearts, but for the injuries, and if he was able to play longer and healthier, I think he was absolutely a sure Hall of Famer. It hurts me a little bit, but I think what's happening on July 19th, and again, what the Mets are showing him and what the city of New York is showing him, that's enough for me. So I know for David, it's more than enough.
So I've seen David play a lot of games. My favorite weekend was in 2015 in August in Philadelphia. He just came back, was out for a month or two with I think it's the spinal cirrhosis. I didn't pronounce this. I can't pronounce it anymore. Stenosis. So it's a Friday night. We come back from a road trip, and we stay at the Westin Hotel, and we get there 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And there's your son, Rhon, handing out warm chocolate chip cookies in full uniform as we come off the bus. I said, Dave, what the hell are you doing here? Well, I want to make sure the guys don't forget me. And that was him. And then the next day, we're sitting in Terry Collins' office, and he says, Terry, you don't have to play me. The team is playing well. I don't need to play. You're batting fourth. You're batting third or fourth. David, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Make a long story short, home run in the first inning. I get goosebumps every time I hear that story. Do you guys have any game or situation similar to that?
I'll tell you what, Jay. I'll add to yours. That was absolutely, and to this day, is still one of my biggest highlights. It was funny because one of my partners, Seth Levinson, it's like David was coming back, and I knew it was a hard road. The team, like you said, the team was playing really well.
Played great.
And I know it got to a point, just knowing the way David is, it was somewhat of an uncomfortable situation for him. As great of a player that he was and is, and at the time still was, he knew the club was playing great. And it was one of those games, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I had to be there. And you talk about goosebumps, and I'll never forget it, because right before the game, I went down by the dugout, just gave him a big hug, and it was like, wow, man, all that hard work, everything else, no matter what happens from here on out, this was worth it. Then he hits the home run.
That was crazy.
And
It's like-
it was absolutely insane. Awesome.
How about, do you have any favorites, Rhon?
Well, I guess anything I say would be less than what you two gentlemen have talked about, but I kind of like the walk-off hit against Rivera in 06 against the Yankees.
Right.
he'll
Johnny
tell you-
Damon's head, right?
That's right. David will
Yeah.
tell you the home run in the World Series. Him battling Ryan Howard in the home run derby. I mean, there's some good moments for sure.
Right. Not many guys, all of David's accomplishments, he starts a foundation in age 22, 23, raised close to $1 million. Rhon, I'm going to screw this title up. The largest children's hospital in Norfolk. Help me through it. The sister, I'm going to louse it up. The Kings, brothers, uncles, aunts. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's and there may be more to it, but around here it's known as CHKD, the Children's
Yes.
Hospitals of the King's Daughters.
You said it better than I could, Rhon. But a guy, I remember one of my trips down to Virginia, it's a guy who never forgot his hometown roots. I mean, you guys agree?
Well, he didn't, and he enjoyed doing that. And certainly, you two were two huge supporters and
Right.
made the trip. But he enjoyed being around kids, many times he would show up and during the holiday season and help pass out gifts to those kids, as well as doing the fundraiser for the foundation. So Lisa and I, my wife and I, we couldn't be prouder of, like I said, the young man he's turned out, not just on the field, but some of the things that he's done off the field as well.
I forgot. You guys almost got me arrested, right? I'm talking in the spring in 2004, July, the Futures game, the All-Star game in Houston. I don't know who called me. Seth or Sam called me. You got to get David a pass to get in the
David
locker
down,
room.
yeah.
He got it. Scott Rowland, one of your clients, was going to meet with him. So I put down, David Wright, Norfolk Times. So we went into the locker room, and Scott Rowland was nice enough to sit with David a good hour and a half, 2 hours, talking about meticulous. He wanted to know what it was like to be a major leaguer. Scott was nice enough to run through all the details. I don't know if you remember that part of it, Rhon. That was my, I never did anything dishonest my entire life, Rhon. You know that? It's kind of sad.
I actually didn't hear about that until after he retired, but it was a very good job.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. And you know what? That's one thing too. I love not only about David, but you mentioned Scott Rowland. It's the guys and the players that we work with and how they are with each other, and that was great. I mean, that was what I know was a big highlight for David at the time, and still is actually.
How Rhon? How old are these David's kids again? The ages and the a boy and two girls.
You're gonna put me on here. I think it's let me see. It's first grade, so that'd be 6. I'm gonna say
whatever.
Pretty close to 9, 6, and 4.
My question to you: when the kids get older, do you think he wants to be a coach or a manager, or I know he's doing work. He's doing some great work with the Mets now. He's making some appearances in the spring, making some trips to stuff like that. Do you think eventually he could want to get back into it full time? It's really hard to predict.
That's a good question that I can't answer. David would have to be the one, but I think as long as he has his family and his kids participating in sports, that's going to be his full-time job. He absolutely loves coaching youth baseball with his son and coaching soccer with his daughters, and in fact his son plays that too. But he enjoys coaching youth sports, and he enjoys being a parent and a dad cheering him on from the sideline. So I think that's always going to take a priority over anything he does, with the Mets or really anybody else other than what he's doing now.
Who's the better fantasy football player, you or David?
That's not even debatable. Me by far.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. You know what, Jay? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because earlier, because 10 minutes ago I said he's pathetically flawless. He absolutely stinks in fantasy football. Stinks. So that's the one thing that I take great pleasure in. And I'll even add to it is we have a schedule, and you only play teams twice. Well, we've been in the league with his brothers and some other guys from the Mets. Man, we've been doing this for a long time. I don't even, probably 15, 20 years. I don't even know. And you play each team twice. Some of them you only play once. So last year I played David twice. I beat him both times. And then we actually matched up because we both didn't make the playoffs, but it was in one of those just meaningless games afterwards,
Right.
right? Consolation game. So I never count those until this year. So I had sent him a text. I said, I'm assuming we're still betting even though the season's over with. And of course, knowing his response was, well, if you don't add a tight end, because I didn't have a tight end, then it's on. But I accepted, and I went 3-0 on him last year. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That you just made my day. Thank you.
Two of his closest friends with the Mets are Paul Taglieri, Trevor Van Allen from St. Lucie. Joe Hippis is a pretty close friend, a catcher. He's a down to earth guy, and he seeks out down to earth people as friends. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. And let me just throw one more name in there is Rack.
Right. That's of course.
Yeah.
Who was his best man at the winning, right?
He was, and
Yeah.
I think I think he gets along well with everybody, but I think he certainly understands where he came from, and I think he can relate to others that he appreciates hard work, and I think he does his best to surround himself with good people. I think Keith's a good example of that. But I think he's got a sense of who I'm going to attach my wagon to, and so far I think he's made a lot of good choices in life with as far as his friends and people he's gotten close to. So
One thing, Ron, I don't know how much you're aware of this. When I had a woman who worked with me, Shannon Ford, who passed away from cancer 22 years ago, and David was so nice to her. Went to fundraisers for her, called her family. That's another thing which he does. And I didn't bring this up is that when Sarah Seaver, Tom Zol's daughter, passed away, he called her husband to express sympathy. When Omar Manaya's wife Rachel died suddenly during the summer, he flew up unannounced, no publicity from Norfolk to be at the funeral, and you can't, you can't, maybe he might not make the Hall of Fame, but to have a Hall of Fame as a person, I mean, he's in there. I mean, people just don't do that, those kind of things, we're not looking for all the off the field stuff we did. He had one thing: no cameras, no this or no that. Just he just did it to did it, and not many people do that. You want to talk about that part of it, guys?
Correct,
Keith,
Keith.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can add to that. I think it just goes back to, doing things for the right reason, right? He wasn't doing it to get the attention or to get on the news or to get in the papers. He was doing it because that's where his heart led him to. And Rhon was just talking about, the people that he attaches himself to. I mean, he's got great friends back from his childhood that he's still, great friendships with, and you talked about Tags and Trey and the guys down in Port St. Lucie, and it doesn't matter what your title is or quote unquote.
That's what I was trying. You said it better than I did, Keith. That's
right.
What
How popular you are or how famous you are. That's David's not about that at all. David's about who you are on the inside and what kind of friend you are, and that's the people that he gravitates towards.
Yeah, I want to just touch it before we go. It's the last game in 18. When I was with him a couple of times in St. Lucie, how hard it was to get on the field to play. What do you think drove him, to get I think he had a walk, and damn, Pete O'Brien could drop the fly ball at first base. That son of a gun. Why would he even want to catch that ball? But what was it just to get back one more time so his kids could see him in uniform? I mean, he knew it was going to be the end after that, but he really worked his butt up just to get back on the field. Sellout crowd, standing ovation, great speech. What do you guys remember about that night?
Well, you're absolutely right, Jay. He wanted to see his family, particularly his young daughters, see him out on the field and play, and that was the driving factor. I think he wanted to prove to himself that he could still compete at that level, even if it was for a game or two. But partly, I think it was a reward for all the hard work he had gotten to that point. He realized he couldn't compete day in and day out, but I think he was confident he could get out there for another game or two. And like I said, I think it was important for him to see his family, particularly his daughters, see him out there on the field playing.
Rhon, as a father, what did you when you heard the ovation he got? How did it make you feel that night?
Well, I teared up. I mean, I'm tearing up now thinking about it. It was tremendous. He always had a place in his heart for the Mets fans, and I think that he appreciated them in good times and bad times, and for him to hear the applause, and I just think it meant a lot to him, and I think he'll carry it with him forever.
How about you, Keith?
I'll carry that forever. The same thing, Ron. I'm a softie too. I can't remember the only time that. I mean, throughout his career, I was sitting next to my son, Briar, who worships David as well. And it was the same thing. I mean, at that game, I mean, I kind of looked at him and we both had tears coming down our eyes. It was so important for David just to end his career on the field, right? And I don't think everybody knows the injury history, right? It was no secret all the time that he missed. I don't think people really understood exactly what he was going through on a daily basis just to get out there and get through games at certain points. I mean, he was getting there so early in the morning just to get treatments. And it wasn't even getting him to the point where it was making him better. It was just getting him to the point where he was able to get through a game because it was never healing the problem. It was never fixing the neck or the back or what was ailing him at the time. And he had a lot of different ailments. But, that closure at the end, him being on the field, I think Rhon nailed it. I think he did it for his family. He did it for himself. He wanted to end, on the field. And what a great day the Mets put on for him.
What's going to be special about the 19th, guys? David had a special relationship with Tom Seaver because David appreciated Tom's place in history and what he meant for the Mets. And one of David's biggest thrills was in 2013. Catching the first pitch from Tom. Anytime Tom came up, he would always visit him. So that's going to be a big thrill for him. So really to have him, really just the only other guy to do what we're going to do on the 19th is David. So it's pretty good. In closing, your final thoughts would, hope we have great weather. What do you think it's going to be like for you guys when you see number 5 on the roof next to all the Met greats?
Well, it's going to mean a lot to me, just because of the company that he'll be keeping with up there. I know it'll mean a lot to David, and I think it's like I said, if he were here right now, he would say, the question, does he even belong up there with some of the great players up there? But I think it's going to mean the world to him, and as Keith said earlier, I couldn't be prouder of his on the field accomplishments as well as his off the field.
Yeah.
I'll add to this, Jay. I think, and David's so humble, and like Rhon just said, he looks at it differently. Like, wow, do I really belong here with the rest of these guys? The one thing I can tell you, and the one thing that will make me happy, is he absolutely deserves this day. And that's the best part about it. He deserves it for the player that he was and the person that he is. And man, I can't wait for that day.
Guys, when I told him I was doing this call with you guys, he called me back a little bit. He said, "You know what? It's just too much overkill. It's too much about me. I mean, I don't want the Mets should be playing now." I said, "David, don't worry. We're going to space this out. Maybe run in April or May. It's not going to be all about you. We're doing the right thing." Rhon, I got to tell you one sub before you leave. One quick add-in about Keith, you probably don't know. Keith Miller had more nicknames than any other player in Mets history. Any other player in Mets history. He was with for 4 years. He had 37 nicknames. Keith, what were some of your nicknames? Do you remember?
Man, I don't even know. Jay, I just remember you putting that on the scoreboard in San Diego.
Yes, yes.
When it was when we put a couple on, man, I don't know. These guys had a new nickname for me every day.
But I mean, it was fun. Listen, I'm looking forward. I've been honored to work with David for all these years. I can't wait for the 19s. I want he's like Rhon and his father. Keith is an aged friend, whatever, good buddy of mine for a long time for helping us out. I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of months.
Likewise, Jay. I will add too, and I know you know how I feel about you and how Rhon feels about you, and you certainly know how David feels about you. We think you're the best, and we love you and we appreciate you. So thanks for having us.
I agree.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I'll tell David we did good. We weren't too crazy, and we said the right things.
Hey, one last thing, if I could, Jay.
Sure, Rhon.
Congratulations. I understand it's 45 years to the day.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That you've been with the Mets. So,
I started when I was 10, Rhon.
Congratulations, Jay.
Yeah.
Congrats, Jay. 45.
April 1st, 1980. And I got lost going to Chase Stadium. I wound up in the cemetery and had to call Frank Cash and said, Frank, I'm lost.
You're the best.
Well, congratulations.
Guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Jay.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.